Hello everyone, I wanted to react to a very ignorant prequel-hating article written by idiots who don't know Star Wars. This is on whatculture.com. Star Wars, 10 massive plot holes prequels stupidly create. Number 10. How could the headband stormtrooper be a clone? Oh, jeez. I'll get to that in a sec. One of the most well-known background jokes of the whole saga is the clumsy stormtrooper. When breaking into the observation area, R2 and 3PO are holed up in one of the in the Empire's finest, when they're holed up, when the Imperial Empire's finest soldier bangs his head on the door. A minor mistake that got left in the final film. Later editions have added an audible bump, signifying George Lucas' acknowledgments of his mistake. To really canonize it, Attack of the Clones contained an identical moment with Jango Fett. When did that happen in Attack of the Clones? What? As episode introduced what would eventually become stormtroopers as clones of Fett. The implication is that the head bumping is somehow genetic. No, it's not. Just because he does the same thing doesn't mean that it's genetic. That's stupid. Aside from that having no scientific sense for the soldier not having a New Zealand accent, like all the clones in Boba Fett have for some reason, it doesn't add up in the timeline. For a clone to be still function as a stormtrooper in A New Hope would need... Their grammar fucking sucks. Whoever wrote this article needs to take an English class. Would need to be a minimum of 20 years old, with accelerated aging will make it at least a grand old age of 40. I somehow doubt regular soldiers at the major Imperial base would be so aged and monthly inefficient, making the whole in-jokes nonsensical. That's not a plot hole. And where did Jango Fett bang his head? That's just a coincidence. And also, do your research. Stormtroopers were not fucking clones. For a while they were, but by A New Hope, they were regular soldiers. The stormtrooper that hit his head was a regular soldier. In fact, in canon, in Legends there's a few clones around, but in the new canon, they completely discontinued the clones and retired them. Jeez. Nothing but ignorance so far. Let's go on to number 2. Number 9. Why did Palpatine want to turn Luke when it would lead to his death? Because he just wanted a dark side servant. Well, let's see what they said. On the face of it, Palpatine's plan to return the Jedi makes a lot of sense. Trick the rebels into an ambush, turn Luke to the dark side, and being home for Jawa juice. The plan to turn Luke into a Sith was the main drive of both Empire and Return of the Jedi. At the end of the Battle of Cloud City, Vader not only reveals his identity to Luke, but also his plans for them to overthrow the Empire with him. And unlike his plan in Return of the Jedi with... Revenge of the Sith, with Padme, it feels a little less made up on the spot. From what we learned about the Sith, this is a natural thing to happen, and no one would know this better than Palpatine. The general rule is with Sith, is that the apprentices, I can't read it, there's so much crap on there, do eventually kill their master, just like Sidious did with Darth Plagueis. Well, that is true, yes. He's already gone through at least 2 learners and has militantly followed the rule of 2 set down along in the galaxy's path. Why at the point when he can gain full control does he break it and introduce a new variable that very likely could lead to his undoing? What was once a logical evil plan becomes bogged down with complications. First off, Palpatine has dark side servants who are not Sith. Just because you fall to the dark side or use the dark side doesn't automatically make you a Sith. Just like how using the light side doesn't automatically make you a Jedi. Haven't you people ever heard of the Inquisitors? He doesn't need to make Luke Skywalker a Sith. Such ignorance. What do they say next? Oh my gosh! Why did technology suddenly become a lot less advanced? Oh my gosh! Of course, there's hardly a simple real-world solution for this. CGI got much better. In fact, the advancements showcased in the early 90s were the sole reason Lucas decided to make the prequels. Well, it was also that, and Star Wars was becoming popular again with the Thrawn books. So let's continue on. The original Star Wars was incredibly entertaining and boasts groundbreaking action sequences. What really made it so revolutionary was what it did with sci-fi. Up until then, it was all clean, white, and sleek designs. George Lucas introduced a used future, and the genre became something a lot more realistic and relatable. The opening of A New Hope with the blast marks on the white corridor walls is a muddying of everything that's been before. The prequels were equally as forward-thinking, introducing previously impossible designs. The silver Naboo cruisers, and the heightened action, the pod race, and any large-scale action scenes. But as cool as it looked, it was increasingly distant from Star Wars. Why in the original trilogy was technology so behind and, yes, realistic? It seems the obsession with good effects lost a sense of style. Well, first off, technology canonically was not more advanced in the prequels. The technology in the original trilogy actually was more advanced. X-Wings were more advanced than Arc 170s. You're ignorant. Oh my gosh. It only looks cleaner because, most of the rebels were using a lot of old tech, like, they were using more advanced tech, but some of the things like Y-Wings were not as advanced. And also, the Millennium Falcon was 60 years old by the time of the original trilogy. Yeah, so during the events of the Phantom Menace, the Millennium Falcon was 30 years old, and the silver Naboo cruisers, they only look nice because those are luxury ships. It's a luxury ship. It's meant to look nice. Hell, even by the end of the original trilogy, the Naboo fighters were seen as outdated. And like I said, they're only nice looking because they're luxury ships. They're meant to be expensive. And also, X-Wings, they're not really luxury ships. They're meant to be workhorse ships. So, whatever. Technology was not more advanced. Do your research, you dumbasses. Oh, what else? The most outrageous change is the introduction of R2-D2's rocket boosters, which he uses willy-nilly in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, but doesn't use them when he really needed them in the original trilogy. Have you considered the fact that maybe they got it removed? They took it out of R2? I don't know why they would, but perhaps they took him out because, you know, he's on a diplomatic vessel. They don't need him for something you'd use his rocket boosters for, so... Why was Leia a princess? Oh my god. When The Phantom Menace was released, everyone knew Padme was Leia's mother. Not only did they share the same love of extravagant hairstyles, but the woman who would become Mrs. Vader was a queen. How else would Leia be a princess? Oh, sorry, yeah, I lost. Well, there's never an answer. Yes, there is. There's an answer why, and I'll give it, but I'll have to read this first. Lucas quickly forgot why he made Padme queen in the first place, turning the role more of a ministerial one, and the character into senator. It didn't help get the audiences involved in the gradual crumbling of the Republic, and then left it open how Leia would be a princess. The title of queen wasn't carried over after Padme left office. No definite answer is given, but the implication is that her adopted father is Senator of Alderaan. She gets the honorary title. That comes across as more a little contrived. It would have been better if Lucas already explained it, or hadn't explained it at all. When referencing royalty, everyone expected an airtight explanation of Leia's title. First off, there is a reason why she has the title of princess. Alderaan, Bail Organa is part of the royal house of Organa. And his royal house is the current ruling house on Alderaan. In fact, Bail Organa's wife, he's the consort. She's a queen. Although it's kind of like a, more presidential title, kind of like how Padme was in The Phantom Menace. But that's why she's a princess, because her adopted mother was the Queen of Alderaan. Brea Organa. You can look this shit up. It's not that hard. Right, what other ignorant crap are they gonna spew? Why did Anakin revert back to his 21-year-old self as a ghost? Not a direct thing raised by the prequels, but the special editions. This plot hole is so heavily prequel influenced that I think its appearance is justified. As everyone gleefully remembers, Return of the Jedi ends with Anakin becoming a Force ghost. In the original version, he was played by Sebastian Shaw, who had also been the dying Anakin a few minutes earlier. Nowadays, the 2004 special editions onwards, Shaw is replaced by Hayden Christensen, who hasn't seen the 3 films. And Luke doesn't have a hope of reckoning. The implication of the original is that Anakin has been redeemed now and can now rejoin to the Jedi. The newer edit seems to ignore redemption. What? No redemption is ignored. Saying Anakin was last good before he turned, obviously it's disrespectful of the character's death, entitled to say he hadn't been he hadn't at the end returned. The real prequel-filled issue is that we never really see Anakin as a good person after Episode 1. In Attack of the Clone, he's whiny and quick to anger. Yep, he is. Slaughtering innocents and betraying his own. In Return of the Jedi, he's pretty much the same for the entire film. Only this time he shouts more. Yes, it's another change to the originals that everyone hates, and the real sense of distaste comes from it making no sense in the context of the prequels. If you're really going that route, shouldn't it have been Jake Lloyd at the end? Alright, I never really hated that change, but honestly, it really doesn't make sense that it should be young Anakin, because, you know, why isn't Obi-Wan changed into, like, Return of the Jedi Obi-Wan? I don't know, I can kind of agree with this, but that's not really a prequel plot hole. I just don't see that as a plot hole in the prequels. Maybe that's the only one I can kind of get on with. Why did Obi-Wan age so rapidly in 20 years? Finding out the Galactic Empire stood for the sum total of 23 years, the same amount of time since the Berlin Wall fell, it's pretty disheartening. The whole thing seems a lot less menacing, but it also opens up the mind to all the timing inconsistencies the prequels introduced. Primarily among them how Obi-Wan is aged at least 10 years more than he conceivably should have. Ewan McGregor was in his early 30s when he played the Clone Wars Obi-Wan. Alec Guinness was a whopping 60 years older in Star Wars, despite only a 19-year gap between the films. To consider Alec Guinness was made to look a fair bit older for the role, it becomes plain ridiculous. McGregor was cast in Episode 1 for his youthful looks, but as his role switched and he became the Master, the age problem became prominent. Now he was aged slightly by the time Revenge of the Sith came out, but not to the extent where it's believable he'd be Ben Old comes Star Wars. This is terrible grammar. Look at Ewan McGregor now. Does he look 10 years off Alec Guinness? First off, the reason why he looks a lot older is because, now this is a real life fact. Living in the desert makes you age faster. I mean, look at Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. They were young looking and then they look freaking aged. That's why. And that's a real fact. Living in the desert for a long time causes you to age. It's not hard to look this stuff up. Hell, you don't even need to read the expanded universe to know that living in the desert ages you. Why did the Jedi hide in plain... The Jedi did not frickin' hide in plain sight. God. The ending of Revenge of the Sith is much documented for its stupidity. Between Darth Vader's new and Padme's unexplained death. Yeah, I fucking hate the no. That's... Ugh. The no is so cringy. It'd sometimes be easier to ambiguously end the film 20 minutes early. The most knocked moment, Vader's scream aside, is the Jedi's plan to keep the children safe. One easily becomes part of a family who wanted a child anyway, and the other keeps his name and goes with his family. 1 out of 2 ain't all that bad. But while hiding Luke in more than plain sight is a little dumb, he isn't really hiding in plain sight. He's in an isolated moisture farm. And Obi-Wan's there to protect him if anything ever goes wrong. And to a lesser extent, Yoda's decision to wear traditional Jedi robes when their kind is still being hunted is far from hiding. When making The Phantom Menace, Lucas decided to make the poor decision to use what Obi-Wan wore in A New Hope as the uniform of the whole Jedi Order. While it allowed to play on Jedi's dress, iconic status for marketing purposes, it made little sense. The implication in the original trilogy is that Obi-Wan was dressed to blend into Tatooine, not to make it clear he was a Jedi. The Jedi did not hide it in plain sight. Yoda was on fucking Dagobah, which was an isolated planet, completely isolated from the rest of the galaxy, that nobody goes to, so he was not fucking hiding in plain sight. And also, nobody is going to... Most people of the galaxy had never even seen a fucking Jedi before. There was only 10,000 Jedi in the galaxy by the time of the Clone Wars, and the prequels. And in the galaxy, there is trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of fucking people in a gigantic Star Wars galaxy full of billions and billions and billions and billions of stars. 98% of people in the galaxy have never seen a Jedi and don't know what they look like. And also, Obi-Wan, his robe looks no different from most of the robes worn on people on Tatooine. And also, Obi-Wan is in the fucking desert, in that house. The only people who would mostly see him would be either Tusken Raiders or Jawas. So they weren't hiding in plain sight. How could a 9-year-old build an identikit robot? If what Lucas had said in previous interviews, it is believed and time has taught us that it's not, that the only characters intended to appear in every Star Wars, be it 9 or 12 films, are R2-D2 and C-3PO, because he knew that way back in the 80s, you'd have to imagine their introduction in Episode 1, or it would have been a little less slapdash. Immediately R2's entry was noble, if a bit sudden. 3PO's was just lazy. Turns out the robot looks like thousands more than the galaxy over. It was created by chance by a 10-year-old. It was not created by chance. It's the Star Wars Galaxy equivalent of a child making an iPhone indistinguishable from what Apple churns. Well, first off, there are other droids like C-3PO. Didn't you see TC-14 who looks almost identical? What Anakin did is the equivalent of someone making a Model T just out of Model T parts, or a Model A, or a Mustang just out of the parts. While it is relatively believable that Anakin used the design of a typical protocol droid and replicated it, because midichlorians are super... No, that's not the reason why! That's exactly what he did. He used the design of a typical protocol droid, like TC-14. And he didn't do it because of midichlorians. Oh my gosh. It's all too convenient. What's even more convenient is that Shmi Skywalker managed to finish 3PO perfectly after his son left. This plot hole is so gaping, an attempt was made to control it. At the end of Episode 3, 3PO's mind is wiped. So the naturally chatty droid isn't out of character when he doesn't mention anything about Anakin or Luke. the robot equivalent of amnesia. Well, first off, Shmi Skywalker and Anakin work at a fucking junk shop for Watto. It's very reasonable that Watto would have taught Anakin how to take apart things, to fix junk, and then that rebuilt junk could be resold. Haven't you ever thought of that? I mean, what is he doing in the junk shop? Is he just going and sitting there and looking cute? No. It's logical that, Watto would teach him how to fix things. So he can sell it. Alright. How could Leia remember her mother when she died in childbirth? Before the prequel trilogy, there are a few references to the time before the Galactic Civil War. We had Obi-Wan's intriguing speech in A New Hope, but it was all rather hush, underdeveloped territory. As Vader's fall became more apparent, more was fleshed out. The story of Anakin Skywalker was already forming, and with it came the birth of the twins, including the tantalizing hint that Leia remembered her real mother. When Revenge of the Sith rolled around, however, this line, along with much of the hints throughout the trilogy, was rendered useless. Not only did Padme die giving birth to the twins, but Luke was the first out, negating even the slightest argument of having marginally more time having an impact. The implication from Return of the Jedi was that Leia spent some time growing up with her mother, who was still grieving the loss of her husband, before being adopted by the Organas, a long way off what actually happened. The majority of Revenge of the Sith's final act seemed to be a hasty tying up of loose ends. But in this area, the ball was really dropped. Now one of the Return of the Jedi's most emotional scenes ended up being a painful contradiction for the fans. Well, if you remember, I believe the explanation is that Leia's Force sensitivity, her latent powers allow her to remember things better. I think she's had visions of her mother through the Force, I believe. So I believe that's the reason why. I think Leland Chee said that on his Twitter, or Star Wars Insider, or one of those sources. Alright. Is every word out of Obi-Wan's mouth a lie, or is he just senile? Here's a plot hole the original Here's a plot hole the original trilogy partially created, and it's solved in its runtime. It wasn't until the second draft of Empire that Lucas decided Vader was Luke's father, which led to a few inconsistencies. Any reference to Anakin in A New Hope was wrong, and even some of the Empire made no sense. The Emperor and Vader were being way too cryptic in their conversation, given what they know. Made worse by the new dialogue in the special edition, name-checking Anakin. The problem was dealt with in Return of the Jedi, by Obi-Wan revealing that he lied to protect Luke. Oh, keep up believable. Hopefully Lucas would make the same contradictory mistake again. Well, he did. Now much of what Obi-Wan says in A New Hope is terribly incorrect. Well, he did. Yeah. Now much of what Obi-Wan says in A New Hope is terribly incorrect. Here's just a selection of the buffet of falsities Obi-Wan claims in the original trilogy that the prequels turned into massive plot holes. Why didn't he remember R2 and C-3PO? That is a good point, but maybe he didn't mention it. He did say he never remembers owning a droid, and he never did own an R2 unit. But there's so many droids that look like R2 and 3PO that why should he care? And why did he say Anakin wanted to have his lightsaber when another lie would have been more efficient? Okay, that is a good point. Okay, what's the next one? Why did he say Owen didn't want Luke to follow him as Anakin? He just didn't want... He's saying that because Owen didn't want Luke to become a Jedi. He's basically saying he doesn't want him to leave Tatooine and become a Jedi. Because remember, Obi-Wan came with Qui-Gon and they took Anakin off, and Obi-Wan didn't want the same thing happening to Anakin. Anakin didn't follow Obi-Wan. Yes, he did. He left Tatooine with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn and became a Jedi. And yes, he didn't know his stepbrother, but remember, Shmi Skywalker would have told him, oh, he left to become a Jedi. And why did he say Yoda trained him? Well, if you watch Attack of the Clones, there's a scene where Yoda is teaching a class of Jedi initiates, because before you become a Padawan, you train together as a group in classes before you're selected by a master. And Obi-Wan was part of one of those groups before he was Qui-Gon's Padawan. And the quick solution of Yoda's training younglings in Attack of the Clones doesn't count. Yes, it fucking does. How does it not count? It does count. I don't know why you're saying it doesn't count. It's the perfectly good explanation. It's a good explanation. Hell, even the fucking EU, that's what they do. Why did he call Vader a ceremonial name, Darth, in their confrontation? Throughout the originals, it was assumed Darth Vader was an actual name Anakin had adopted. But Obi-Wan knew it was the title used by the Sith. Well, it was never established in the fucking original trilogy that Darth was a title used by the Sith. It was never established that. Okay, that's 10 massive plot holes the prequel stupidly created. There's not much I agree with on here, and most of this is absolute shit written by casual fans who don't know shit about Star Wars. So, alright people, have a good day.